Hey guys, it's Chris here. I made this list of 9 things that you can do from day one with your FBA business to help you make more money and just set things up on the right foot so that down the road you don't have to run into some problems that I did. Now, I actually tell you which ones on these lists I did and didn't do, and most of them I should have done and maybe didn't do as well as I should have. So a lot of this list is coming from experience. And if you do all of these, you're going to start your business right, you're going to get more money, and you're going to do it faster. So watch these, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps, and give me feedback. And were there any things that you did with your FBA business that you think other people should do from the beginning and I missed? Let me know. Thank you so much, and I hope these help you. So the biggest thing that you need to do when you first want to start selling on Amazon is read the terms of service. There's so many mistakes that you can make that will hurt your business in the long run, cost you money, potentially even shut down your business and ban you from selling on Amazon. Now, I don't want to be all doom and gloom and make it seem like that's definitely going to happen, but it's definitely going to happen if you don't read the terms of service. Now, I know that these can be super boring, but you got to understand them because these are the standards that Amazon's going to hold you to, whether you know them or not. You know, ignorance of the law is no defense, to quote the great Judge Judy. But if you go through, read the terms of service, and also read Seller University. It is a free educational service within Amazon that will show you like how to prep a shipment, how to make a shipment and get it to Amazon. I see so many people, they ask me this question like, hey, I got something, how do I get it to Amazon? Well, clearly you didn't read the terms of service. If you're asking if you can drive the item to Amazon and drop it off at a warehouse because there's one a mile from your house, you haven't read the terms of service. I can tell by that question alone. So do yourself a favor and read the terms of service because there's a lot of stuff in there, and I would really recommend rereading parts of it consistently. There was recently a shakeup in the terms of service on how glass had to be prepped, and by like the way that they changed it, it actually saved me a lot of money on replens. And I'm talking hundreds of dollars a month by having to no longer box some of my items. And I was paying a lot of money for boxes. So it not only will help you protect your account, but could potentially save you a crap load of money. Now, this one you should do before you do anything else is separate your finances. Now, this is something I did not do at the beginning because I was using a bank account and a incorporation from another business. That was a bad idea. Don't be me. What you should do from the beginning, if you're not going to incorporate right away, which everything in this video is supposed to be free and incorporation costs money, so we're not going to talk about that in this video. That'll be the next video. But you can get away with not incorporating right away if you just separate your finances. That'll be pretty good enough for the most part. Now, the way you do this is you go to any bank. I would recommend getting a bank that's not the same bank you always use, just because I like having separate apps, I like having separate cards, all that stuff. And from the beginning, you can get a sole prop bank account for free. So if let's say your startup budget in this business is $500, I would recommend going and putting that $500 right into a business bank account. Again, this is free, takes almost no time. A lot of banks now, they'll give you the debit card right there on the spot. This is going to help you separate your finances, and when you start to do accounting and get an accountant, they will thank you for this. Okay, again, I didn't do this, and it was a big nightmare for my first few months. That financing was super confusing. But now I have everything separated, so my account, you know, when I get paid by Amazon, it goes into one account. I have my spending account, my payroll account, all these separate accounts. That's a little bit more complicated than you're going to have to ever deal with. Well, hopefully you have to get that complicated, but it's definitely more complicated than you're going to start with. All you really need to start with is one bank account that's separate, and then that way when you make your purchase for your goods, the items and the inventory you're going to sell, and any supplies and all that stuff, it's all separate. Your finances get so much easier when you have a separate bank account. Now, this is one I didn't do, and I definitely recommend now doing, and it comes up as a question actually pretty frequently. Should you use a fresh email address for your Amazon account? And the answer is yes, definitely you should. And here's why. You already have a Prime account, most likely, most people do. You can actually have your Amazon business account, your seller account, and your Prime account be on the same email address. There's no problem with that. But the problem that you run into is that if you get an email from Amazon, they're very important. And the problem is, I got my personal email address and I'm getting, hundreds of emails a day. Do you want to talk about your car's warranty, dick pills, you name it. I don't want very important correspondence from Amazon to potentially get lost in the sauce in that. So if you have a separate email address, again, they're free to get. You can have them send those emails directly to that separate email address that you have set up. And then you can actually make that a priority email address in your Android phone. So basically, if I get an email from Amazon, my lights in my house go off. Okay, not quite, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, because responding to customers on Amazon is super important. If Amazon says I have an IP claim or I have an issue with a shipment, all that stuff, that's so important to take care of right away that I don't want that going into my personal email address. So from the beginning, if you're a Gmail person, you can log in, make a Gmail account, and have multiple accounts under the same account. And that actually will save you a lot of headache down the road. I did not do this from the beginning, and I regret that. I did separate them later, and my life has been better for it. Okay, so the next tip is to keep track of all your expenses and receipts from day one. Now, you need to do this for accounting anyway. Hypothetically, if you ever get audited, you need to have your receipts and the proof of your purchases and everything. But also, if you get an IP claim, anything like that, you're going to need receipts and invoices. So it's imperative that you keep track of those. I'll have to do a video outlining exactly how I do that because I think I have a pretty good system. But from day one, you need to keep them all together and keep them in a special place. Okay, some sort of file folder, a filing cabinet. I actually have file cabinets just of receipts and invoices. I would recommend looking into how long you need to actually store those. I'm not going to answer that question. But let's just say I have every receipt for everything I ever bought to sell on Amazon. So, you do need to keep track of those things and all of the expenses related to your Amazon business. So do keep track of that from day one. Okay, this is something that I see people ask all the time. They're like, hey, do I need to keep track of my invoices? Okay, so this one is another one that's going to just save you so much time down the road. You need to keep track of all your expenses and receipts from day one. This is a very invoice and receipt heavy business. I have probably tens of thousands of receipts from over the years, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. I have a filing system for them, and I'll probably make a video outlining how I keep track of my receipts at another time. But from day one, make sure you have your receipts. This isn't even about accounting. Knock on wood, you get an IP claim or an inauthentic claim, and you're going to need that receipt. So make sure that you are filing away your invoices from day one in a way that makes sense to you. I don't know how you're going to do that. I'll make a video showing how I do it, but you need to pick a system and stick to it. It is imperative that you don't, leave those on the coffee table for your cat to puke on, or leave them in your car to get hot and turn all black, because that'll happen. It's happened to me. You need to have a filing cabinet or a filing box or something and put them away. That is extremely important, and you will thank me later for doing that. Now, this one's actually super easy. It's probably the easiest thing on this list. Track your mileage with Mile IQ. Now, Mile IQ does have a paid version, and I did say everything was free, but the free version probably will do most of what you need to do unless you're doing really long trips or a lot of trips. And at that point, you should just pay $10 a month or whatever it is a month. Don't be cheap. Now, it's so important to do this because your mileage deduction for your vehicle is a huge deduction and will save you a crap load of money on taxes. I've driven a lot for this business, and I think it's probably about 50,000 miles by now for this business, and those deductions are huge. MileIQ will keep track of that for you, help you keep that stuff all organized, and that way when you do accounting and you go to pay your taxes and everything, it's all right there ready to go for it. It's super easy. MileIQ, I think, is the easiest one to use. I've tried a couple other ones. Maybe there's one you like better, but I like MileIQ. If you like one better, tell me which one you like in the comments. Okay, so this next one might not be free, but the thing is about this Amazon business is that there's a lot of hurry up and waiting. So, if you have your initial investment that you're sending in, you get that spent, you send it in, you got to wait for you to get your payout until you can spend your money again. So you're going to have some downtime. So at the very least, research this because this is very important. I'm going to make another video on things you should do that will cost you money, but this one might be free or might cost you money. So do it anyway, or at least research how to do it. You need to incorporate. Now, what you should do is look up what is the best form of incorporation for what your goals are. Okay, LLC, S Corp, sole prop, whatever. They all have their benefits and advantages and drawbacks and cons and all that stuff. But look up how to incorporate in your state. Now, an EIN from the IRS is typically free, depending on what business structure you're using, and you can look that up. Once you have that, to incorporate in your state is usually a little bit of money, but look that up because sometimes it can also be free and it can take a few weeks to do. In Pennsylvania, I think it's like 150 bucks. That gets you everything you need. And then it takes like less than a week. I just incorporated a new LLC a few weeks ago. I do forget the time, the cost. I should have looked that up before the video, but it was super fast. I incorporated on Friday. They mailed me the paperwork on Monday. I didn't even pay a rush fee for it or anything. I think it was under $200. So go out there and do this, or at least look up how to do it. Now, the way to look this up is to look on the website for your state's revenue department or Department of State. So search, Incorporation Pennsylvania. Of course, don't do Pennsylvania if you don't live in Pennsylvania. Whatever state you live in, search that one. Okay, so you may want to look at the State Department, the Department of Revenue for the state. This is really important to do, and this is going to help you with incorporating, and paying your taxes and that kind of stuff that you're going to have to do eventually. So do this from day one. Very helpful. Another thing is you're going to need to register your business potentially in your county and city. Now, this is typically free, but you need to research whether or not you need to do that. So I don't know the answer to that, but look up your county and look up how they handle businesses within the counties, especially if your business is incorporated in another county from the county that you live in. And that can get complicated. You should probably talk to an IRS, or not an IRS agent. You should probably talk to an accountant about that. My accountant knows all that stuff and hooks me up with all that information. But you should at least have a passing knowledge of how this stuff works. And it's pretty basic, actually. And usually the calculations are super easy. So for instance, one of the counties that I had lived in previously, it was a 1% off the top tax, no deductions. So it was actually pretty easy. If I made $1 million in gross sales, and this was actually if I had made $1 million in gross revenue, I paid a 1% fee on it. Pretty easy, no deductions. So do look that up. It's usually a very easy thing to look up and understand because it's so much less complicated than like the IRS tax code, but do look that up and know what kind of information you need. You also need to know, what kind of business can you run in your city and state. You should be okay, like homeowners, they typically don't care for this kind of business because you're not having foot traffic. So you might have a problem, opening up a photography studio or a hairdresser in your neighborhood. But for the most part, because all you're doing is buying inventory and sending out inventory, you should be fine. But just look that up and make sure that you're not violating any local ordinances or laws and plan accordingly if you are. Now, this one, I believe, is free in most states. I didn't search all states, but it should be free in your state. Get a reseller permit. This is called a reseller permit, a tax ID, a reseller license. People call it the same, different things. It's all the same thing. You want to get this as soon as possible because without this, you're going to pay sales tax on stuff. Sales tax is a huge waste of money. I mean, sales tax on, Pennsylvania toys, it's like 6%. Okay. So 6% additional cost of goods is a massive amount of money. Now, get that right away. You might not be able to use it in every store, but you definitely can at places like Walmart and a lot of grocery stores and stuff like that. And also do yourself a favor and understand the tax code in your state. It's kind of related to this. So one of the things is like in Pennsylvania, there's no sales tax on clothing and there's no sales tax on groceries. So stores that I only buy clothing from, like for instance, Kohl's, about 95% of what I buy from Kohl's is clothing. So I don't worry about my reseller permit. I've never had to, I've never even thought to give it to them because I buy so little that isn't clothing. Grocery suppliers. Very often, I don't even give them my reseller permit unless they request it. And once you get your reseller permit, that opens you up to a lot of wholesale. So, this is something to start from the beginning. It can take a couple weeks to get. So the last thing you want to do is find a great wholesale account or what you think could be a great wholesale account and then have to wait on paperwork. So just get this done right away and you'll thank me later for it. Okay, guys, last but not least, you need to have a passing knowledge of accounting and business financing and how businesses operate. This is your first time operating a small business. This is super important for you. Now, this can seem a little intimidating, but I would really recommend a book called Small Time Operator. Now, I did say that everything on this list was going to be free, and Small Time Operator, of course, you can buy it off Amazon, and it's very inexpensive. But you can also get it from the library. It's a commonly available library book, and there's other good business finance books out there that can help you with managing this small of a business, okay? So you don't need to get your MBA, you don't need to get a CPA, but go and have a basic understanding of how accounting works, how business structure works, how businesses work, and this will help you so much in the long run. Now, go out there and, maybe even find somebody you trust that you can talk to. You can look at there's an organization called SCORE. It's the Society of Retired Executives. I forget exactly what it stands for, but look for SCORE in your area. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they'll have plenty of resources for you to help you do your own business management and business accounting. And I would definitely recommend looking into those sooner rather than later. So I really hope that these tips help you. These are the things, I told you which ones I did and didn't do. All of these things are things I definitely should have done from the beginning, and they would have helped me, or they did help me with my business. And I'm constantly seeing people getting started in this business and they're not doing these things, and sometimes it's really biting them in the ass. And I don't want that to happen to you. So get out there, make a lot of money, make me proud. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.